Excuse me, everyone. I just ate some refried beans. Very delicious. Good source of fiber. Actually, a great source of fiber. 2 bags. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about space, the galaxy and stuff, other planets, because I just watched the video, and I'll actually add the link to the video that I just watched on the description or in the description input option when I upload this video to YouTube. So the question was somewhat proposed or brought up about how life or pressure can impact and cause life form to evolve, how it can impact that. And I was also thinking about the skin complexion. So let's assume we were able to put humans in every single planet. How would that look like? And how would we be able to overcome every single challenge that's presented within it? Because, like if I hold my breath for a very long time, I might start turning blue, different color, right? So what if we were in an atmosphere where there's a little bit of oxygen? Then our skin complexion will probably be different, right? That's probably what will happen in Mars. Especially when only a few plants are grown. But I don't really know. Anyway, I also seen the moon, and it has a bunch of craters. But when I seen that right now in the video, I was thinking, well, what if they're not craters? What if they are like human habitations? Some of them. So they might appear, theoretically speaking, like they are craters or like something, an illusion or an illusionary impact of a crater or whatever. But that still doesn't make sense, because even if that was the case, what happened to the rocks? Especially if it created such an enormous crater. I mean, were these rocks buried? Or could they be some form of radiation blast? Maybe from the sun? I'm not sure. And obviously, facing the challenges like we face here on Earth, like thunderstorms, volcanoes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires. There's a bunch of natural acts of God here on Earth. And I guess we would have to like also evaluate what is safe here on Earth, or the safest place. What is the safest place? We have to ask ourselves, what is the safest place here on Earth and why? I believe it's high up in like in the mountains, higher elevation. Just my theory. Mainly because I heard that Mars, narrowing in into Mars, it has a lot of thunderstorms and dust storms. So those dust storms, if we build anything on the very bottom, like the valley, any type of valley, or like a hill or something, then the dust storms could potentially cause a lot of dust pollution and maybe ruining the vehicles or other technology that is up there, or I mean in it. And maybe on top of a hill, the dust would just eventually get blown off the hill. And it's also windy, so if there's any dust or whatever, it'll also like fall off from like the vehicles, rovers, and other machinery. Yeah, because here on Earth there's like tsunamis as well. That's another act of God. Avalanches. But tsunamis are the ones that cause Hurricane Katrina. And the floods came in, destroyed, wiped out all, like basically all the homes. So, although there's no water or ocean, I should say, in Mars that we know of yet, so that type of threat or act of God, we won't have to really worry about in Mars. But there's other things, other possibilities we have to consider, like dust storms. And they're probably powerful, like a tornado dust storm. So, yeah, like we would probably need some robots to go into Mars before we go in there to mine a rock, so it can basically scaling the rock and putting that in a computer diagram drawing, and so the robots can go over there and start drilling away and building a facility somewhere we can go in and have rooms, chambers, kind of like ants. But the robots would do all the work. But that would probably require too much work, you know? But I think it will be the safest way to keep human beings alive once we decide to go there. Because who knows what could happen if maybe there's a thunderstorm. The possibility is always there where the machinery can get damaged. So for us, the safest thing to do would be to go into a rock or a cave to protect the vehicles and ourselves at some degree, not because we're afraid of what might be out there or whatever, but just simply for the fact that it'll protect us from the acts of God, natural acts of God or whatever. So yeah, like, how would people look like in other planets if they were there for a long time? I guess to answer that, I guess we would all look the same, and it would just require climate control within that environment, that whichever environment we might be in for that case. And yeah, that was all. That was all. Um, you know, here, the closest thing we have besides what we made that I know of is the moon. So we would have to somehow colonize that first, in my thinking. Because I think that, well, not to put doubt in anyone's mind, but I'm thinking that Mars just might be too far fetched. But I could be wrong. I mean, maybe we have colonized the moon already without me knowing. Because it doesn't make sense how we are planning on going to Mars to colonize it before we colonize our own moon on our own planet. Unless I'm outdated and I've been excluded or left out, or people kept me in the dark, or keeping me in the dark about such matters for whatever reason. But, colonizing Mars has 2 moons. So we also need to figure out how we can colonize those other moons, those 2 moons on Mars. And there's 8 billion people living in Earth. So there's obviously going to be a lot of voyages going out. And we're all going to get shipped out. And that's good for all of us because, we might not like the environment. We might not like the pressure and the new way of living life or whatever. But that's the new torture for our evolution. It's like World War II when they were experimenting on people. And now it's the same thing. They were experimenting on people with weapons. They sent us out to war. They monitored and recorded how weapons impacted us and wounded us. The same is true with vehicles. Now, there's a lot of car accidents happening. We know how that impacts us, how it affects us. And, going out to these different planets, of course, not everyone's going to survive. Of course, there's going to be challenges and fatalities and injuries and new discoveries and newer possibilities for us to look into because we failed to look into them before we ever thought of them. And it's not a horrible torture. It's just a willful type of torture because those that enlist to go there or get rafted to go to war will basically be forced to go there. But hopefully it's voluntary, like where they volunteer to go. So if they volunteer to go, then they're willing to sign a disclaimer saying if anything happens, it's on you. Just like when we go on a ride in a camping trip or Six Flags or bungee jumping or jumping out of an airplane, that type of stuff. So, but it's going to be good though because we're going to be able to learn from that, learn from our own mistakes. That's how we learn. We learn and we grow together. We fuck up. We all fuck up. And a lot of people want to now look at it from that perspective, but we are all in this together. And I think it's going to require a lot of failure, disappointment, and fatalities, a lot of deaths, for people to really realize all of the stuff that is really going on out there, and for people to stop and really consider everything that's happening. Because apart from that, people would just laugh and think it's all a joke, right? So by that or undergoing that I described, then people will understand like how it really is, you know? Because all we think about here on earth is how to make money. And we're all stressed out about life's problems, how we're going to pay bills, how we're going to make that next paycheck. We're not thinking about new challenges and a lot of stuff like that, you know? And a lot of people are raised without even knowing the challenges that they will once face once they grow up. So basically, practically, they're setting up for failure instead of being straight the fuck up with them from the very get go, from the start, in a professional way, in a responsible way, in a way that the World Wide Web can educate us probably only. And I know without a shadow of a doubt. And there's a lot of professionals out there. They can raise armies this way. Because none of us are taking anything seriously. Not even myself. So, but while we're here on Earth, we can innovate, perfect our current inventions to prevent further injuries and stuff like that. Plane crashes. I was thinking, what if a plane somehow had an airbag that or was able to get deployed, I don't know, expand into a fucking bubble, like a ball, a bouncy ball. I guess that'll be better than the fucking airplane fucking crashing into Earth. No, but seriously, we gotta, we have to come up with something. All of us do. Because, that's one of the main reasons why a lot of us are not flying. Because of that one danger of of the of the plane not being able to land like a bird lands. So by us allowing ourselves to think outside the box, we could probably come up with something better. Maybe something we never even thought of. Maybe something futuristic. Almost impossible. You know, we have the parachutes that are installed on the airplanes, but then they don't want the airplane to just coast off somewhere, and they don't want the people in a safe cargo without the remaining of the airplane, probably for disclaimer purposes, liability insurance purposes, like, well, you guys get the point, right? I don't have to describe it. A possibility. Like, the people are safe in a fucking chamber. The airplane goes, kills more people, then who's at fault, right? Or destroying more assets. Stuff like that, right? But fuck it, the people are safe in the cargo. But what happens to the people over there? So they're like, fuck all that. Just let the people in the airplane figure it out. So that's exactly what they do. Because I thought about a thing or a way where that cargo can shoot out, the airplane could continue going, and the people will be in the cargo. And they'll just go down. I don't know about the plane though. Couldn't think about anything. But maybe together we can. Because this is not a joke. It might seem like it's a joke, but if it was happening to one of us, then it wouldn't be a joke. It would be super, super scary. Frightening. And no one ever wants to go through that experience. So, yeah, innovation. On all aspects. Yep. So yeah, that was my discussion on human beings on all planets. and how it could affect us. It was quite interesting, that video I just watched. Like I said, I'll be adding the link in the description. And it was really pretty cool how they presented the information. You know, because it's all education. And they had a lot of eyes. And although they weren't classified, they just gave one to guess, or they assumed that they would have the understanding of that information. And there was like spiders, ants that have different type of eyes, like spiders that have like 4. But what I loved about it is that they were enlarged to like the scale of a human. So it looked kind of creepy, but it was interesting to be able to see all that detail. It's fascinating. It's cool what God has created and put us in. It's fascinating because here we are in this bubble world we call Earth. And although we're surrounded by all these animals that are, you know, some are tiny and humongous like giraffes. But once we are able to scale them up to, especially the smaller ones, to our scale, 5 feet or whatever, 6 feet, however tall you are, 8 feet, doesn't matter. Just say your own level, right? And you're able to see that, all the detail and all the intricate detail that God implemented into each creature is just fascinating. So I encourage everyone to go watch the video. Maybe you just happen to view my video first. I encourage you to go into the description, watch the other video first, and maybe even come back and watch this again. Thank you everyone for watching. God bless.